which Mercedes engine was the most popular ever? I'm not talking about well-known, by the way. I'm not talking about well-known Mercedes engines, like the engine in the 300 SL, aka the M198, or the M100 and the 600. I'm talking about that Mercedes engine that is like global currency. The engine that everybody recognizes or recognized that's still in service today, simple to repair, durable, long-lived. And today we're going to look at 3 Mercedes engines that I think really fit that bill. And then we're going to do a mystery engine at the end. So we're going to keep it fun. The first engine on my list is the M102. Now, why did I pick the M102? The M102 engine was used in the United States exclusively in the 190E 2.3, but it was used all over the world in other body styles. It was used starting in 1980 in the W123 and both in both sedans and wagons. Oh yeah, and even coupes. It was also used in the 124, and of course it was used in the 201. But if you look at how many variants of the M102 existed, like for example in 1992 and 93 they had the M102.919, which was a Portuguese market version only. That was a 1.7 liter version of the M102. Or the very popular M102.920, which we never got officially in this country, but it was in every carbureted 200 sedan. 123, or even I think it was used also in the 190 2.0. They didn't call it a 190E, it was just a 190. But it started life in the gas 200 W123 series cars. So the M102 was so ubiquitous that everybody in, whether it's South America or Africa or the Middle East, at some point, everybody knew someone who had like at least 2 of these things. And a lot of us in this country look at the M102 engine and we go, oh, it's sort of an underpowered, forgettable engine, but it was really not. It had an incredibly bulletproof bottom end. They could run at high RPMs all day, and they were pretty fuel efficient for how well they performed. I mean, a 2-liter engine that makes an average of 100 horsepower, even as a carbureted version, I think is pretty laudable. That an engine like that delivers real-world performance while delivering decent fuel economy and serviceability. I've also found that the main problems with the M102, such as worn head gaskets that leak coolant, are still relatively easy to fix in the field. The next engine that we're going to talk about is the M115. Now, the M115 was really one of those engines that Mercedes didn't develop overnight like they did the 102. They developed the M115 gradually. The M115 was really a beefed up, more thoughtfully engineered version of the M121. So if you look at this engine architecture that Mercedes had, starting with the 180 and the 190 Ponton models, which had M121 engines, the 200 and 190 fin cars, and then finally the 115 and 123 versions with the M115 engine in them. These engines were so well made that they were almost regarded as like it was sacrilege to discard a car with one of these engines. I would say this is the most dominant Mercedes engine in Lebanon in the 90s when I was living there, because people preferred the 115 and 123 chassis cars. They were more spacious. And these aren't interesting, option-laden versions of the 123 that you see in the US. In a way, they were almost delightfully boring. They were cars that had I would say the absolute most frugal engineering you could possibly see. Cloth seats, crank windows, an emphasis on space and durability and serviceability over, technical features. These were some of the few passenger cars, though, in Lebanon that people liked the automatic transmissions in, because the transmissions didn't blow up. I mean, these things worked very hard, pulling 5 people and their luggage up a mountain in 3rd gear. You know, again, automatics, not manuals. And they did it. They did it with no problems. They do it for hundreds of thousands of miles. So when people go, oh, I don't know about this Mercedes automatic transmission, I'm like, oh, I do. I've seen it. You know, I've seen the taxi drivers, they put it, you know, they get to, you know, they start getting up the big highway through like LA, like to Damascus, or they have to do some climbing, and they're, you know, 5 people in the car, you know, usually going to see their families in the mountain villages, and that engine's working at 4,000 RPM in 3rd gear, and the transmission's not blowing up. And no, it didn't have a filter service recently either. I mean, it's just amazing what these engines would do. So the M115 was quite popular all over the world. I mean, it was used in trucks. It was used in the big 0309 buses. It was used in some Unimogs. It was very popular. But if we're looking at the context of the entire Mercedes production range, there's still another more popular engine, and that is the OM 615/616 4-cylinder diesel. Now, why did I bring that up? Well, because if you had a taxi business, a gas engine was great, but a diesel engine was best. It's just beste. The diesel engine was the most long-lived, the most frugal. Oftentimes, these engines were only shut down to change oil and possibly adjust valves way past the intervals. They were sometimes rotated in and out because, you know, years of hard driving up and down mountains, any Mercedes engine is going to wear out. But the diesels were nice because they had replaceable sleeves. So your local machinist, Georgios, at his one-man shop in Athens, could use a little cutting wheel to cut the old liner out, freeze the new one, and put it in, and put a piston in, and away you went. Or you just have another engine ready to go for you. And one of the reasons that serviceability with the OM 615 and 616 was so important was because these engines were often used not just in passenger cars, again, but in all kinds of commercial or semi-commercial vehicles. They were used in the MB100 vans. They were used, again, in, you know, light trucks, and the T1 Transporter. The T1 Transporter was very popular, and until the OM 601 came out, it, you know, they basically had 2 engine choices. Unless you were forced to get an M115 because of local regulations and diesel engines, you had to have a 615 or eventually a 616 or a 617. And one of the other things about these engines that I think a lot of people forget is that the absence of carburation really made them very delightful to use. Injection pumps, set it, forget it, drive it, enjoy it. Carburetors, not so much. There's never a, you know, carburetors are like, they work well when like the right wind is blowing from the south and the sun is shining at the right angle and the humidity is good, and the gasoline was checked several times by the chemist before it went to the fuel station, and the truck that it was riding on had a perfectly clean tank, and the gas station attendant who cleaned the nozzles made sure that there was no dirt in them, and then your carburetors are going to work wonderfully. You know, but the reality of it is that diesel fuel came at the time in all kinds of qualities: bad, good, old, wet, dirty, high sulfur, not enough sulfur, stinky, smelly, you know, sometimes diluted with non-diesel and very cold weather, and the cars would just run and run and run and run and run. So this flexibility when it came to fueling the cars was also a huge perk, whereas some of those Mercedes engines, especially for the European market, had to have high test fuel. You had to have it or they wouldn't run right. They'd ping, they'd knock, you know, they'd burn up valves. So that was a big plus. Now, I'm sure you guys are excited to hear about my mystery engine. What could this mystery engine be that Pierre says was so popular? You named all the popular engines. You named all the diesels. What engine have you forgotten to tell us about? Well, the engine that I have not told you about yet was the OM352. What is an OM352? Well, it wasn't used in a passenger car. It was used in large trucks. Big trucks, eventually unimogs, turbo, non-turbo, direct injection. Yes, Mercedes had a big industrial direct injection diesel engine in the 60s. And one of the reasons that these engines were so good was because they were extremely serviceable and easy to repair. So I personally think that you need to do more research on them. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Tap the bell for notifications. And think about buying some merchandise from us. I'm not wearing my shirt today, but you know what I'm saying. You'll see a link below. And if you need any NOS Mercedes parts, we have them too. Just email us at nlabenzparts@gmail.com.